Tonight, on Legislative Review. Canceling an app subscription? There's a bill for that. Plus, a push to make prison work voluntary. And increasing learning assistance for high-poverty schools. All that coming up on Legislative Review. Welcome to Legislative Review, your source for daily highlights in the state legislature. I'm Angela Nolasco.
So we will go to 5207.
On Thursday, January 23rd, the Senate Business, Financial Services and Trade Committee held a public hearing on a bill concerning electronic media app subscriptions. These may range from music to news, software, games, and other forms of entertainment that aren't free and usually require a form of payment for automatic renewal. Senate Bill 5207 proposes to require media companies to give customers a prorated refund if they cancel an app subscription earlier than their renewal period, or be subject to a violation of the Consumer Protection Act. The bill's prime sponsor, Republican Senator Drew McEwen, called it a good, bipartisan consumer protection bill.
A lot of times in these subscriptions, it revolves around utilizing certain equipment or other consumer devices that maybe you no longer have. But if you bought an annual subscription, there are some companies that say that you can cancel, but there's no proration. So let's say you have something that has a subscription base that you get rid of in March that you were on an annual plan for. You're stuck being out the money for the rest of the year.
The nonprofit group Allied Daily Newspapers of Washington made recommendations to the bill's language.
We are hoping that perhaps the word news would be withdrawn from the bill in an amendment. We've been offering these subscriptions for hundreds of years. We have small disputes perhaps with customers from time to time, but these are on monthly pay or quarterly pay, except for many of the weeklies sell on a yearly basis. And cancellations do happen, but they're not all that common. And we're just hoping not to be exposed to this possible action by the Attorney General's office.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, Madam Chair. My name is Morgan Irwin. I'm here on behalf of Association of Washington Business.
The bill received opposition from the Association of Washington Business.
A number of our members at the Association of Washington Business have expressed some concerns with some of the mechanics in this bill, and I'll be following up with him. Don't want to take any more of your time.
No member of the public testified in favor of the bill.
Good morning, and the committee will come to order.
The House Community Safety Committee held a public hearing on a bill concerning prison work programs. Through the Department of Corrections, or DOC, incarcerated persons can gain work experience and training by signing up for programs employed by the correctional industries, or CI. There are different types of CI work programs or industries ranging from Class 1 through 5. Class 2 industries are also called tax reduction industries, owned and operated by the state, designed to reduce the costs of goods and services for public agencies and nonprofits. Prisoners working in Class 2 are paid based on a gratuity scale that does not exceed the regular wage paid for the same type of work outside prison. Class 3 industries, aka institutional support industries, are operated by the DOC and are meant to give prisoners basic work training and experience, in turn offsetting public support costs. Workers in this class are paid wages or gratuity set by the DOC Secretary. House Bill 1233 aims to require that the wage and gratuity paid to prisoners working in Class 2 and Class 3 be no less than $1 per hour, and to limit the amount paid to a worker in Class 3 to no less than $200 a month. It would also make an incarcerated individual's participation in CI work voluntary, except when they have a court order requiring them to perform community work. Committee Vice Chair Tara Simmons sponsored the bill. Simmons is Washington's first formerly incarcerated lawmaker to be elected to the state legislature.
It took 30 years and me getting elected to serve here for individuals to get a raise from 42 cents to $1. Cost of items, razors and shaving cream and deodorant and tampons, all of that stuff has gone up over the last 30 years, and 42 cents an hour was not cutting it.
Simmons said that the bill's proposal to make all prison work voluntary except when ordered by a judge is an exercise of fairness.
forcing people to work for $1 an hour. We see it all over the place. People are doing these jobs, and then when they leave, they're not hireable because of their history. This is the case in the firefighters in LA right now. 30% of them are incarcerated people working for these wages, and then they're not hired when they leave because of their criminal history.
Columbia Legal Services attorney Hannah Warner testified in favor of the bill.
Our incarcerated clients and community partners are performing essential work within the prisons. However, if they refuse to work, they can face harsh consequences, including lengthier prison sentences. This is an outdated and racialized employment system rooted in slavery and built upon an exception in the 13th Amendment, which allows forced labor as a form of punishment. This bill is necessary to end coerced labor in our state.
Inmate Carlos Bernardes, who performs plumbing work at the Washington Correction Center, urged the committee to pass the bill.
With the fluctuations of our economic state, daily life is a struggle, and at times tough decisions come down to whether to pay a car note or use the funds to communicate, pay the light bill, or skip family visits. I know this because these are real life conversations my wife and I have as she struggles to make it to the next paycheck. Receiving a suitable monthly wage gives me the ability to provide my own necessities as well as send home funds to assist in buying things like diapers and wipes for my 16-month-old son.
The Department of Corrections expressed the agency's concerns about the bill.
Correctional Industries operates on the revenue from goods and services and receives a small appropriation for back office functions. It must be self-sustaining financially, meaning if gratuities increase, costs increase and will be passed on to customers. By making participation optional.
Republican Representative Jenny Graham asked Tuan Quach, who had been formerly incarcerated and worked for CI for 14 years, about voluntary work in prison.
If we're faced with this justice system where somebody can refuse to do anything to better themselves, it's hard to look at that as being a slavery issue as opposed to a pathway for them to have an opportunity for something to look forward to.
The incarceration is the punishment. Being locked up, being kept away from your family, being kept away from your community, your society, that is the punishment. You have to give people that choice because it's the incarceration. If they've done harm to their community, then they've been incarcerated, like I was. It's the incarceration that is the punishment, and giving back is something that we choose, and you have to give them that choice.
Members of the Senate Early Learning and K-12 Education Committee also held a public hearing Thursday. The bill up for discussion, Senate Bill 5120, which aims to expand the state's Learning Assistance Program, or LAP, to high-poverty schools. The LAP program was designed to provide additional instructional services to students who are not meeting academic standards. Senate Bill 5120 proposes to increase LAP allocations for high-poverty schools from 1.1 to 1.6 hours per week. Democratic Senator Tawana Nobles of Furcrest sponsored the bill.
For students in communities with high concentrations of poverty, these differences can mean fewer opportunities to thrive academically and, in many cases, wider gaps in learning outcomes. This bill moves away from a binary funding model and toward one that recognizes the varying levels of need across our state. This is about creating equity in education and giving schools the tools to implement strategies that work for their students.
Public school teacher Oliver Miska spoke in favor of the bill.
Washington has an F rating when it comes to our education finance equity. School districts with high poverty concentrations receive 5% less, or $887 per pupil, than higher property value districts. This is a great start, so we really appreciate it.
Also speaking in support, the Washington Education Association.
We commend this committee for coming forward and looking at our basic education programs and areas where we need to look for ways to improve our education system. This is an important conversation to have about how we can bring greater equity to our funding formulas, and we appreciate Senator Nobles bringing this forward. Thank you.
No opposition was heard. The bill also received support from OSPI, the League of Education Voters, and the Washington State Association of School Psychologists. That's it for today's highlights on the state legislature. Stay up to date by watching Legislative Review every night at 8 and 11 p.m. and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We'll see you then.